At least Lord of the Rings is good. When I was growing up, it was Twilight. And there's no excuse for that.
Welcome to Books and Banter, a podcast about books. I'm Janine, a library clerk.
And I'm Jess, branch admin.
And we both work at the Winkler branch of South Central Regional Library. In this podcast, we talk about books with our own twist. We read the first half of the book and predict where it might be going, and then finish reading the book and discuss the second half.
There will be snark, there will be spoilers, and depending on the book, there may be references to violence, sex, and other adult topics. So if that's not for you, stop listening now.
All right, let's get into this week's book. Today we are reading Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. One cruel night, Maggie's father reads aloud from a book called Inkheart, and an evil ruler escapes the boundaries of fiction and lands in their living room. Suddenly, Maggie is smack in the middle of the kind of adventure she has only read about in books. Maggie must learn to harness the magic that has conjured this nightmare, for only she can change the course of the story that has changed her life forever. This is Inkheart, a timeless tale about books, about imagination, about life. Dare to read it aloud. This is the first book in the Inkheart series and is followed by Inkspell and Inkdeath. The trilogy was initially concluded in Inkdeath, but was revived in 2016 when Funke announced that a sequel called The Color of Revenge would be published in 2018 in Germany. Although the book was still unpublished in 2020, Funke announced that the first 15 chapters would be published digitally that same year, with subsequent chapters published periodically. The physical edition of the book was released on October 12th, 2023 in Germany. So I don't know if there is a Canadian English copy or not, but Cornelia Funke began her career as a social worker before becoming a book illustrator. She began writing novels in the late 1980s and focused primarily on fantasy-oriented stories that depict the lives of children faced with adversity. Funke has since become Germany's best-selling author for children. I wanted to be an astronaut since I watched the first moon landing, and after I had watched many episodes of Star Trek. I believe that maybe I became a storyteller because every evening I had to invent new Star Trek episodes for my brother, as streaming and downloads had not yet been invented. No DVDs neither. And I think my 14 years younger sister Insa is to be blamed for the fact that I always loved the company of children, and it was therefore no surprise that I became a children's book writer. But first I was a social worker, and all the wild children I met taught me what kinds of books I should write. Books for those who, like me, love to read, but also for those who usually don't. It still makes me very happy that my books are often loved by readers who usually don't like books. And that part was from her website. And this something that I found very interesting from a Q&A section on her website. Has nothing to do with anything, but something kind of funny. So the person asks, would you ever consider writing a book in which the main character has autism? I think it would be really cool to read about the different and often magical ways we autistics see the world. Did you know that I can talk with the seasons? You may have noticed that we've gotten quite a bit of snow all over the US. I'm afraid that was my fault. Old Jack Frost and I got into an argument. That just kind of tickled me a little bit.
I would read that book.
That's all the info I have for right now, so let's get into it.
Cover.
Yes.
I don't know about this cover, honestly, because to me it doesn't really have much to do with the book.
Well, it does and it doesn't. Like, it's got the hands, it looks like somebody's trying to crawl out of the book.
Yeah.
So that's, and the fairies, because there's fairies in Inkheart.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Martin, Gwyn,
yep.
So.
But what about the lizard?
Is the lizard not the Martin?
No, That's a lizard.
Well, what does a marten look like?
A marten looks like a ferret.
Oh. Well then.
It's said fur like 15,000 times.
Oh, yeah.
Lizards have scales.
Right. Then
furry
why is there
lizards. Furry lizards, though. I'm intrigued by that. We should have furry lizards.
What's the lizard?
I don't know. See, that's the thing. Like, to me, it's kind of not coming together.
So, for the longest time, I thought this book had a dragon on the cover, and I think I was confusing it with Aragon.
That makes sense. They also have very similar fonts.
And so I thought that this was a book about dragons, and I thought that it was something completely different than what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. And so 2 years ago, I started reading this book, and I was in love with it. And for some reason, I had to stop, and I can't remember why. but I stopped and I never picked it up again until now. And now I'm like, huh. Okay. I feel like this is a book that I should love because it's a book about books.
Mm-hmm.
I am struggling to read it. And
But see, that's the thing. Sometimes when it feels like you should love the book, it's like, it's obligation. I don't actually like it for what it is.
But the first time that I started it, I was like powering through, and I was like, I love this book. It's so, like, this is so great.
How far did you get in it?
I got to the part where they took away her dad. So not very far.
So you've gotten farther in this one then?
Yeah. Well,
Or this time around?
Yeah, much farther.
Well, if you'd only read half the book, it makes sense to be a little less into it this time because you've already read the first half.
No. I didn't. I, like, maybe 50 pages.
Okay.
It wasn't that far in. Sorry, that kind of jumps away from the cover. But yeah, the cover is...
Well, if you're asking me to do word association with Inkheart, so far none of these things that are on the cover are what I would be saying.
So, like, the hand coming out of the book, yes.
Yeah, but only in the most vague sense of it. Like, there's a tree. Cool. The fire. The building on fire. So far, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The lizard, no idea where that's coming from. There's something hiding in the bush that I think might be Gwen, but I can't really tell.
Mm-hmm.
There's the random seashells and... Oh, coins. Coins. It's treasure. Okay, that makes more sense. I'm looking at a very small picture.
Maybe, I know, I didn't bring my... Oh, no, I do have my book. It's in my bag.
There's treasure kind of
The lizard
coming
is
out of and going
from
in.
when the treasure came out of the book.
Right, but that's a very, very small part considering how prominent it is on the cover.
That is true. Maybe...
Like, if you look at it, you'd think it'd be about a giant hand, a lizard, and a fairy. Write that book. That sounds fun.
Isn't there a hand in the Addams Family something?
Yes.
That's
Not
just,
at all creepy.
It's just all I can think of when you say that.
But, like, you have to do a fair amount of digging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
But also I feel like I should really like this cover because it's like...
It's one of those things where, like, the fact that she's an illustrator, or was an illustrator, I kind of feel like it's... I don't know if she did the cover herself or not. I'd have to look into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's disappointing.
Maybe there's more that relates to it in the second half.
I hope so.
Maybe we'll revisit this.
Yes, that's
later.
a good idea. Before we tear it to shreds, they
We'll
come
see.
back and go, actually, we were wrong.
Yeah.
Turns out Lizard's the main character now.
You never know.
Yeah, Gwen turns into a lizard.
Or maybe Dustfinger.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, I feel like this should be a really good book.
On the one hand, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the thing that keeps going through my head is the movie is better. And we are doing this as a page to screen, so we
Right.
will be watching the movie for the second half.
Yeah.
I watched the movie years ago and have never read the book.
So the other thing, I feel like this is a junior fiction book.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we have it in our collection. It's very long, like it's over 500
Yes.
pages. And there are a lot of words in there that I'm like, the average kid is not going to know this word. Like supercilious. It's
Yeah.
not a word that they teach in elementary school.
It's definitely more along the lines of like Harry Potter
Yeah.
in terms of age and interest levels, that kind of thing.
Definitely older elementary or middle school.
But like even the movie, from what I recall, was like it does not feel like a children's movie.
No?
No,
Okay.
not at all. Like there's some where it's like, oh, no.
Okay.
It does not feel like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's kind of one of those where a little bit like what was the other one we did? Pull Around the Front.
Oh, Golden Compass.
Yes, technically YA. It can go much older than that.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely a higher interest level.
Yep. Yeah. I like, though, Aunt Eleanor.
Yes, she's
I like
a pistol.
the way her character is developing from the beginning till now. At first I was like, oh, I hate this lady. But now I'm like, oh, she's kind of cool. She's kind of funny.
She is the kind of beat you with a cane kind of little lady where if you broke into her house,
Yeah.
she's not going to take it sitting down.
No, she will not. Yep. So that was an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I accidentally say Maggie instead of Meggie, I apologize. Because Meggie is not really a word, like a name that's common to me, familiar to me. So when I look at it, I just read Maggie.
Yeah, no, it kept throwing me off too.
I know. So if I accidentally say Maggie, I apologize in advance. when I was reading this morning, I was struggling with Maggie and Mo because there's so many things that Mo does not tell
Well,
Maggie.
I keep saying Mo, and I keep going, Mo who?
Mo's the dad.
I know, I keep forgetting that.
Mo, Father Mo. But I was struggling because I was like, he has so many secrets from her, and it's one of those things as a parent, like, you want to protect your child, but also there are certain things that they don't need to know.
Yeah.
But some of these things maybe she should know given the circumstances that they're in.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of struggling with that. Like, you know, should he be telling her more? Like, why isn't he telling her more? Why, you know, it was kind of bugging me a bit.
That was one of the things that... We're going to talk about the film in the second half, but the more I read, the more I'm like, I remember how good the movie is. I feel like the movie handles the father-daughter relationship a lot better.
Okay.
Because in the book, I don't really like Mo.
No.
He's kind of a... Like, not that he's bad or anything, but just feels very much like he thinks she can't handle anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she's what, 12?
She's 12, I think, yeah.
She can handle more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Especially given the world into which you've thrust her now.
Right.
With no notice whatsoever.
No, and she knows nothing of what's going on, and suddenly she's having to deal with all of these, like, really heavy things and scary things.
Yeah.
And she has not been prepared for that at all.
No.
Like, she knew absolutely nothing.
Like, that's the thing. Like, in terms of life and whatnot, they've traveled enough. She's well prepared for that. But you've basically just told her magic is real.
Yeah.
And you're a magician.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother's gone /dead because of it.
In a book somewhere, maybe.
Oh, and by the way, there's a villain, and this is all within 5 minutes.
Yeah. And the villain crawled out of the book.
Yeah.
And, you know, he wants me. He wants my magic. Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's just... You have to give her a lot of credit. Mm-hmm. Because also for her age, I feel like she's quite mature.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
she doesn't read as a young 12-year-old.
No.
Like, there's some where it's like, grow up.
Yeah.
You're 12.
Yep. Yeah.
High standards.
But she's very well read, and yeah. So
No, I don't think he gives her the credit.
No.
And as a result, it does make him, I'm not going to go so far as to say unlikable, but in my list of favorite characters, he doesn't make top 5.
No. Mm-mm.
Gwen makes top 5. He is awesome. You're going to like him in the film.
Yeah.
He's so bloody cute. What do you think of Dustfinger?
I don't know yet. He's such a... Because he kind of sold them out in the beginning, but now he seems like he's coming around, but I don't know.
He is one of my favorite characters.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think his character is one of the most interesting in the entire film
Yeah.
and book.
He definitely has an interesting story. Like, I got pulled out of this book and out of my life, and I'm very homesick for that. I want to go back there. And so, like, now we can kind of see some of the decisions he's made because he's trying to get back to his home, right? Like, he's not...
It's desperation, not malice.
Yeah, exactly.
But see, that's the thing, too. Like, in a book like this, you could quite easily go with the magician and his daughter and, you know, focusing on their angle a lot more. Mm-hmm. I very much like the fact that essentially they're focusing on the victims. Mm-hmm. Because what goes into a book, or what comes out of a book means something else has to go into a book and vice versa.
Right.
And that is quite the deal. Mm-hmm. So I like the fact they're actually exploring that angle a lot more, because it's like if you took somebody from Fourth Wing and dropped them into this world and then went, yeah, no, we don't actually kill people to go to college.
Right. And you have to adjust to a whole new world and a whole new...
Zayden and a car pay money for that. Would be hilarious.
But also, so Dustfinger does not know how his story ends.
Also, yeah.
Because he didn't... Whatever. But Mo does because he's read the book.
That's the thing. I'm like, if I knew how somebody was going to die... My word, would I have a difficult time keeping my mouth shut.
I know. But also, I wonder, like, now that the characters are pulled out of the book, does the book change?
That's always the thing.
She hasn't really addressed that. right?
Yeah, she hasn't touched upon that at all, really. Like, I'm assuming, I don't know.
It's like...
Because he read Dustfinger's story. He read the entire book. But he read the entire book also after Dustfinger was pulled out. And he still knows that Dustfinger, in the book, dies at the end.
Right.
So, it doesn't change any existing copies of the book. Like, it's not in the future where, you go back, step on a butterfly, whatever. Your grandpa's dead because he was a butterfly.
The butterfly effect.
Yeah.
But...
So, I don't think anything changes when they come out of a book. Something has to change when they go into a book.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wonder after... Like, if Dustfinger can go back, if it would change after that.
Yeah, I don't know.
And how do you explain that in a book?
It's very...
The main character disappeared, came back, knew all about smartphones.
Right? And if if you had this book and you had read it, and then you picked it up, years later and read it again, and then it was completely different.
Yeah.
I hope...
I want more explanation.
Yeah, I hope that she's going to get into that in the second half, because...
So far, we don't have the technical aspects of the actual exchange process.
Yeah, how does that work? It's like the one Stephen King book that I read that I really liked, 11/22/63, and it's about time travel, and the guy goes back in time to when Kennedy is president and tries to stop Kennedy's assassination, and how, but it takes 800 and some pages to explain it all.
It is a Stephen King.
But it's fascinating. It is so fascinating. It's one of, it's a book that has stuck with me, and I really enjoyed it, and I would like to read again, except it's a big time commitment, because, yes, Stephen King.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for a Stephen King that's not, gory or sucky, that's the one to read.
Like the ones we've read thus far.
Yeah, right? Yeah. The other thing that...
thing I'm finding thus far with this book is it moves slowly.
It is very slow. That's my problem, I think.
At this point, I forgot that it was a series. At this point, I'm like, I really prefer the movie better because it's quicker pacing.
Mm-hmm. Well, it has to be.
And not to say that it feels rushed or anything like that, because as I go through, I keep going, oh, I forgot about that person. Oh, I forgot that they were there. Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot about this timeline. Oh, I forgot about this story. There's a lot more to it than what I ever remember. So it's I've watched the movie multiple times throughout the years, and it's always a bloody delight when I go back to it, because it's good movie.
So does it not explain the in and out thing in the movie?
I don't remember. That's the thing. You'll understand when you watch the movie.
Okay.
There is a lot in this book, because you've read the first half.
Yeah.
Of a 3-book series.
I know.
And they're all thick.
Yeah, they are. And I know. There is a lot in here, and it's detailed, and...
Which is good, because she builds a world and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like she could have kind of sped it up a little bit.
Yeah. I also was trying to figure out what country we're in and what time period we're in. Because...
Also that, yeah.
They have cars, do not appear to have cell phones.
To me, it feels 90s.
Maybe 90s. Yeah, I don't know. But where are they?
Italy?
Maybe.
Because...
At one point, they said Genoa? Is that how you say it? Genoa?
My brain is stuck on Genovia.
Genovia. I don't know, but that's a place, right? Genoa?
Yeah.
So that place was mentioned at one point in the book.
Yes.
And I'm not sure where that is, but...
He also said at the beginning of the book that they were going to her aunt's or great aunt's or whatever she is. Mm-hmm. And that it was an hour's drive, if I recall correctly. And they left in the morning, but we're only there in the evening?
I thought it was an all-day drive.
Maybe I misread it and it was,
Yeah.
It's a drive we were leaving in an hour or something like that.
Maybe.
I'll have to double check. Neither here nor there. But from what I understand, it's Italy adjacent. Lots of castles.
Lots of castles, and then there's the beach.
Yes.
And let me tell you, I just really wanted to go to the beach.
The beach does sound like a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Especially when Dustfinger is, doing his, big performance thing, and then they go to the beach, and I'm mm-hmm. I want some ice cream now. I want ice cream at the beach.
I want to go...
Fighting off seagulls.
Sit by the ocean and just...
Chillax.
Ignore the world.
Yes.
You can go to the beach next week. Go to Mexico.
Just go to Mexico.
Why not?
Timing?
What do you mean timing? You could do it.
I don't have a passport.
Oh. you need to have a passport so you can be at the ready.
Yeah.
Last time we got our passports for 10 years, so I am ready at any given moment. If somebody would come up to me and say, hey, do you want to go on a trip tomorrow? I would be like, yes, please. Let's go.
If somebody asked me, do you want to go to Mexico tomorrow? My first question would be, do I get to keep my kidneys?
That's sad that that's your first thought. I'm sorry, but that's sad.
Yeah, I'm cynical.
Yeah.
And plus, I've got very good kidneys. What are your thoughts on Capricorn?
He
Makes me want candy corn, and I hate candy corn.
Oh, gross. That's nasty.
It's terrible stuff.
Although one time I had Nerds candy corn, and that was not terrible.
Oh, yeah, Nerds.
Yeah.
Nerds is a flavor.
Yeah, it had flavor.
Yeah.
It wasn't just gross, whatever that stuff is made out of.
Nerds are delicious with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
What?
It's a Hannibal Lecter reference.
Okay.
Sorry, Linda.
Like little salty peas. Sorry.
Capricorn, what are your thoughts?
I don't like him.
Well, he's the villain. If you liked him, you're doing something wrong.
Well, what else am I supposed to think then? Why are you asking me my thoughts?
He is one of those villains that, again, better in the movie, not at all biased. I am not advocating for violence at any point. However, he does feel like a villain that's never been told no.
Mm-hmm.
And that if somebody he bullied on the playground ever punched him back, he would be a completely different person.
I think he's also just a little oblivious to
Oh, yes, definitely.
everything.
Granted, he got yanked out of a book.
Yeah.
Like,
True, but still, he was in a book. Like, I don't know where I'm trying to go with that. Sorry. Just,
you think he'd do villaining better.
yes.
Yeah. He is a little bit sad as a villain.
Yeah.
I do like him better in the movie because he is played by Andy Serkis.
I don't know.
You don't know Andy Serkis? Okay, you're gonna love him after this movie. He plays Gollum. Smeagol. We're going to be doing Lord of the Rings, so I can make Janine sit through all Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh, please, no.
Janine has no taste.
I have seen the first Lord of the Rings many, many years ago. When those movies were coming out, I had two good friends who also had a third friend who I was friends-ish with, who were obsessed with those movies to the point of obnoxiousness. And I now have zero tolerance for anything Lord of the Rings related.
Which is a shame because they are excellent.
Well, if you had to listen to all the things that I had to listen to...
They went full, like, fanboy over him. Fangirl.
Yes. Full...
Granted, yeah.
on obsession.
I can understand it to a point. Like, don't get me wrong, big Lord of the Rings fan. Massive nerd. But at least Lord of the Rings is good. When I was growing up, it was Twilight. And there's no excuse for that.
Like, it's a fun time.
Not at all. It was Twilight mania.
Yeah.
And it was just completely intolerable. There's no reason for Twilight, period. No, it shouldn't exist.
There are several people in the world who would argue with that.
Those people need to find better vampire books where they don't sparkle. I'm sorry. Twilight is a bad vampire book. There are better vampire books.
Like?
Do you remember the fact I'm terrible at remembering titles and/or authors?
Do I remember what now?
The fact that I'm terrible at remembering titles and/or authors? I will need to do some digging.
Okay.
Because I do not remember them. I probably have them on a Goodreads list.
I just want to say, just because you think it's dumb doesn't mean other people don't get value from it.
But not to the level of obsession that it was.
Well, that's how people are.
I know, people are weird.
They get obsessed about weird things.
Why do people keep peopling?
However, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that there aren't people who do.
You can tell you had to explain to a kid that just because you don't like broccoli doesn't mean it's bad.
Right?
But it has nothing to do with this book at all. There's not a vampire in it.
That we know of.
There's not a vampire in it.
Okay. Well, you don't know. You haven't read the book, the whole book. Maybe
Pretty confident there's no vampire.
Maybe they cut that out for the movie. I'm just saying.
I doubt it. I'd be quite surprised if there was a vampire in it.
I'm just saying, don't discount it entirely.
There may be a vampire.
I'm just in the mood to argue today, apparently. I don't know.
You are.
I don't know what my problem is.
Anyway.
I didn't get my peace and quiet this morning like I normally do. Anyway, that's fine. It's all good.
Do you have any predictions for the second half?
I'm hoping that her mom comes back.
Yeah. I think, given the fact that they've very specifically said repeatedly that she's gone, not dead, and they've been very specific about the phrasing and that she's gone, I would be shocked if she didn't.
Yeah. Well, you already know.
Well, I already know, but I'm trying not to spoil it for you.
Obviously, they're going to defeat Capricorn.
It would kind of suck if they didn't.
Right?
Great evil, we must vanquish it. No, we're good. You want to go for coffee?
Then maybe they'll all live together as one happy family with Eleanor and her mom and Mo and Dustfinger and
Farid?
Farid, yes.
I do like the fact that Farid is... He's like, sweet, this place has cars.
Yeah, I know.
He's very happy to like, I'm in this one now. Cool, forget the other one. I don't want to go back.
He's kind of cute.
He is. I mean, the fact that he keeps like lighting matches and trying to swallow them.
I know.
Because he's trying to imitate Dustfinger.
I know.
I mean, that's just fun.
I like that too. I also liked, I can't think of his name now, the author.
Ah, the old man. Oh, my favorite line in the cake was the magnificently perforated chocolate cake.
Yes, I know.
I'm like, I want a magnificently perforated cake.
I know. But
it was really making me crave cake.
I know. I was too. And she talks when she cut her a big slice, and I was like, oh, cake. Where's some cake? I did go to the bakery today, but not for cake. But yes, I liked him. Fangolio, something like
along those lines. I'm drawing a blank on his name entirely.
Him and his grandchildren, I thought, were a hoot.
Yes.
That was probably one of my favorite parts of the first half.
He was definitely a character.
He was a character, and I liked him a lot, and I hope we see more of him.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's the thing, with the addition of the author, I'm curious, if you add an extra chapter, would that change the ending?
Oh, like, can the author can he write Dustfinger back into the book?
Yeah. And like, oops, lol, never mind, faking,
That's a good
accidental
question.
poison berries, bye.
Right. Or is Mo gonna figure out a way to, like, he can read somebody, like, it seems like he almost knows how to pull something out of a book.
Mm-hmm. Well, like he was saying with the Arabian Nights, that when he read it, he felt like he was there.
Yeah.
And it was more of an experience than when he'd ever read it before. Mm-hmm. Granted, we don't know if that's allowed or to himself or whatever.
Yeah.
But it does make me think that, A, the quality of the writing and the type of writing not the type of writing, but like you need to be very engrossed in the story and very...
Yeah. Maybe, I think it's the way that he reads also, right? But I'm wondering, like, he seems to have a little bit more control over what pulls out of the book, but no control over what goes into the book.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like to me. Because, like, when he was reading that and all the coins came out and then somebody just disappeared, right? And it wasn't a specific person, it wasn't...
Yeah, it was just random
like
person.
a random
But then
army
he
guy.
also did pull Farid as well.
Yeah.
So, does it take a chunk? Does it, like...
Yeah, I know. I'm, like, I want to understand
I have
more.
Many questions.
Yeah, I want to understand more about how this all actually works.
Well, that's the thing, too. Like, Farid, I'm assuming he got pulled because he's reading about the coins in Vicinity or something like that.
The coins was from a different book, though. It was from Treasure Island.
You're right. With the Arabian Nights, he just pulled Farid. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. Like, it's not character dependent. It's not like you're pulling people every time. Sometimes you're pulling, like, you pull a cloak or lots of money.
Yeah, I know.
I might need to read a few stories about Fort Knox later.
That was the other thing that I was like, if only I could read a book and, like, pull out a bunch of cash.
Can you imagine how chaotic that would be? Insane.
Yeah, but then I would have a lot of cash.
Yeah, that is the upside.
Yeah. And then I could say, hey, let's go on a trip tomorrow, and we could just go.
You're really fixating on going on a trip,
well,
aren't you?
All this beach talk in this book was, like, really...
It does make you want to travel and, like,
it does.
go off on a grand adventure.
It does. Even though I just was on a trip. I'm like, gotta go to another one.
Got a trip again.
I got the trip bug.
Do you have any predictions about the second half?
Yeah, I don't know. Just the things that I already said.
Her mother will be
Her brother will come back.
Come back.
I hope. They'll defeat Capricorn, obviously.
Defeat Capricorn, yep.
Candy corn.
Candy corn, yep.
And then all live as one big happy family with Eleanor.
Do you think Dustfinger will go back?
I don't know. That's the one thing I'm not sure about, because...
It could kind of go either way.
Yeah, because now that he knows his fate, I don't...
He doesn't know his fate.
Didn't they? No, she told him. Maggie told him.
I don't think she did. Did she?
I read it just this morning.
True. I thought...
Because they came out of the author's house, and then she told him, and he didn't want to believe her. But I think he still wanted to go back.
How far did you read?
End of chapter 26.
I do not remember that.
I'm pretty sure. We can check it later.
Yeah.
I have the book in my bag. I just don't have it right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. That's one thing that I just...
I mean, it is one of those things where I'm kind of like, what did you think would happen?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know exactly what the end of my story is, but I know I'm going to be dead.
Right. But, like, books don't always end with all the characters dying.
No, and you don't know to what degree characters are self-aware of mortality and yada yada.
I think that Mo and Maggie will adopt Fareed.
You don't think he's going to go with Dustfinger?
I'm not sure.
Because he is really a big fan of Dustfinger.
That's true.
Like,
maybe Dustfinger will stay.
Or Fareed will go with him. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, there is 2 more books after this, so...
Yes, we probably won't get all the answers.
No.
If we do, what the heck goes on in the other 2?
We really got to stop reading series, though, man. Because, like...
Standalones only.
It's too much.
I mean, on the bright side with this one, you get to watch the movie.
I know.
And know what the ending is.
But now I have, like, 15 series that I've read book 1, and, like, I feel like I need to read book 2, but I...
Next year, we're just going to do this volume 2 of all the series that we've done.
That's a good idea. We should do that. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. Do you have any other predictions that we haven't already discussed?
I can't predict anything because I know what happens.
Oh, yeah, right. Never mind.
Ruin it.
No spoilers here yet. We are back with part 2 of Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. So, we just almost got into a long conversation before we hit record, so good thing. I had really high hopes for this book because I had started it previously and was, like, really into it. I'm not gonna lie. So we watched the movie also. This is one of the very, very few times that the movie was better than the book, in my opinion.
10 out of 10 agree. The movie is honestly one of my favorite movies. Like, of the kind of, like, junior action, adventure, you know, that kind of...
Just as French suddenly.
The worst French accent you've ever heard. I will be hit with a baguette. I forget where I was going with that. Other, like, junior action adventure kind of format.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies, because I legitimately think it is pretty good.
Yeah.
And not just because of Gwen.
The reason, though, I think, is because the book is too long. Mm-hmm. And the movie...
The entire time I was reading it, I'm like, yep, we can skip this part, we can skip this part.
And the movie does a really good job. It's different. It is very... that's one thing that bothers me about movies that are based off of books. I'm like, that's not right, that's not right, that's not right. And it's more obvious because I finished the book and then 5 minutes later I was watching the movie.
Yeah.
So if there had been space in between, I probably wouldn't have noticed it quite as much.
But I'd argue pretty much all of the things that the movie changes are for the better.
For the better. And the pacing is better. And it's not long. Like, it's about an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes. So, like, it's not super, super long. And it moves at a good pace.
Yep.
And it's interesting and...
And the things that they add, like the tornado to help them escape and whatnot, makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, and in the book, who's the author?
Oh, Fenolio.
Fenolio, right. In the book, Fenolio is kind of the one that does the reading and writes the book and whatever. I like the fact that in the movie, it's the kid that is the writer. I think that improves it.
Like, the whole time in the movie, they're setting her up as somebody who wants to write.
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, that only comes out at the very end of the book, where she's like, oh, I think I'd like to be a writer.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I think it is just better.
Yeah.
Like, it cuts away a lot of the unnecessary stuff. A lot of the, we're trekking through the countryside, we don't care.
Yeah. It was just, like, it was slow. This book had so much potential, and I really believe that this is a book for book lovers, because it's about the books and...
Like, the basic premise and plot is fantastic.
Yeah.
Watch the movie.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like,
I very rarely will say that. Like, don't read the book, watch the movie. But in this case,
watch the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it is legitimately better. It is one of those where I feel like they could turn it into a series or like a TV show.
Oh, yeah. They probably could.
Even if it's just kind of a one-off, you know,
like a miniseries.
Miniseries, that's the word. I think they could get away with doing that. I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like the original characters in the movie.
Yeah.
Because I think they all kind of work. But the book is just not as good.
No.
It's that simple. Like, even the mother actually being read into the book and then read out of the book again. Better in the movie.
Yeah.
It's snappy, it's concise, it gives you the story, it gives you the character development without it being so dragged down.
Yeah.
And in the book, I don't remember, I may have fallen asleep during this part.
There's a lot of that happening today.
Yes. In the book, the other reader that Capricorn had... Darius, right. Did it explain why he was a bad reader?
No. I don't know if it did. Maybe it did.
I don't remember it explaining anything.
If so, it would have been in the first half.
Just that he was a bad reader and that it caused problems or whatever. I like the fact that in the movie, Darius is a bad reader because he has a stutter. He
has a stutter, yeah.
And that the people that he reads out, like the bad guys, have books on their face and stuff like that.
Still the writing.
Yeah.
Like the page is still there because he didn't fully read them out.
Like, I think that adds to it. I think that...
I liked that.
Helps kind of create the... In the book, I had trouble remembering that, oh yeah, these guys are actually read out of a book. In the movie, you don't, because it's just there in their mannerisms and their face.
Yeah. Also...
and how they act in different situations. Like...
Yeah. Also, Dustfinger, like, throughout the book, he's so desperate to go back. I didn't really understand why. Like, what was his reason? But in the movie, he has a family. He wants to go back to his family. That was not in the book at all. Like,
exactly. There wasn't reasoning behind it.
There wasn't. He was just really desperate to get back into the book. And I was like, why is he so desperate to go back?
Yeah.
And Fareed was like, this world is way better. I'm staying
cool.
here. I love it here.
You've got ice cream. I'm not going back to the desert. But, like, that's the thing, though. I feel like in the book, for as long as it is, it doesn't really explain a lot of the intention or reason behind the characters and their what they want to do. Like, even Capricorn, in the book, was it really ever explained other than, like, no, I like it here?
Yeah, I don't...
Like...
I have to say, though, I loved Capricorn in the movie.
I told you, Andy Serkis is, like, the best.
He was amazing.
What is that sticky stuff? Duct tape. Duct tape. It's just fantastic. Yes. There is no better villain than Andy Serkis.
Oh my goodness. Amazing.
Like, but he made the character of Capricorn.
Yes.
Like, in the book, he falls a little bit flat. Like, Basta?
Yeah.
Is kind of the main bad guy in the book.
Yeah.
In the movie, it is Capricorn.
Oh, 100%.
Like, to the point where I was reading the book, I'm going, Basta. Who?
It took me a while to figure out who Basta was on the movie. Which one was actually him. Because there was, like...
Because Andy Serkis was so good.
He was amazing. I was like, I actually like this bad guy. I know I'm not supposed to like him, but I like him. He's funny.
He is good. He's good. He's also the bad guy in one of the Avengers movies. Is it Age of Ultron? Or is it Black Panther? I don't think it's Black Panther. But again, he's a bad guy. And it is just... He is such a good bad guy.
So good.
Like...
It was... Yeah.
10 out of 10 recommend Andy Serkis.
I was, like... rooting for Eleanor at the end. I'm like, she's gonna come in and she's gonna save the day.
But that's the thing too, like the casting in this movie is... I'm just ranting about the movie now.
Yeah.
The casting in this movie is just good.
Yeah.
Because Brendan Fraser hits the, like, cool dad, but also has a secret and isn't necessarily making the best decisions. But no, without being creepy.
But why did he have an American accent and every other character had a British accent?
Well, that's because Brendan can't do accents.
Can he not? He must not be able to.
I don't know.
But that was one thing that bugged me. Like, every single other character in this movie has a British accent except for him. And I'm like, oh.
Well, that's the thing, though. They never really... Like, they say that the aunt lives in Italy.
Yeah.
But beyond that, they don't really specify a whole lot in terms of location.
No.
He may have been American originally.
They're clearly somewhere in Europe, though, because they can drive to the aunt's house.
Yeah.
so they have to be somewhere in Europe.
His character worked. The kid, in the book, I found her kind of annoying. Mm-hmm. In the movie, not annoying.
Yeah.
Like, she had the combination of, yes, I'm feasibly still a child. Well, there's some where I'm like, turns out you know Kung Fu. You're 12, and your only previous experience is selling Girl Scout cookies. Actually, no, Girl Scouts are scary. So, they are determined.
Some of them are, yes.
Like, they are vicious little creatures. But, like, there's some where it's like, you're not behaving like a child. And not in, like, a childish way, just in a, yeah, normal kids don't do that. I think you might be a sociopath.
Yeah.
But, like, in the movie, she had the right combination. The aunt, Helen Mirren, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Big Helen Mirren fan.
Yeah.
She tends to play badass grandmas.
She was great.
I'm never going to argue with.
I loved the scene where, like, Maggie she's got a book in a case, right? And Maggie is, like, peering into it. She was like, get away. And then Maggie starts, like, talking about it. And she was like, oh, okay.
I may actually like you, child.
Yeah.
Very still. We'll get back to you.
She tries so hard not to like her, but she just, she can't help herself. And,
Again, she's just such a good casting for that.
The casting was really good.
Like, in the book, she's I think one of the characters that's more similar to her book character.
Okay, yeah, I think so too.
Because in the book, she was also kind of like curmudgeonly, but also marshmallow. A curmudgeonly marshmallow.
Yep.
Sounds disgusting.
It's a good way of putting it, though.
And I think that worked well in the movie, and she did a good job of portraying that. But again, it worked, and I like the fact they cut out a lot of her stuff from the book.
Yeah.
Because I think there was just the right amount.
Just the scene in the book where she comes home and all of her books have been destroyed.
That one was just...
I almost cried.
When the manuscript that was in the case, when he tore that in half, I'm like, oh, that's painful.
I know.
That's just, like, that's irreplaceable.
I know. I was like, the books. That's why I say this is a book for book lovers, because... Or
book haters, because more books get destroyed than anything
else. That is true, but it's painful to watch that. And so I was watching the movie at home yesterday, and my older daughter comes into the room, and it was a scene where they were burning books. She was like, oh, it's like Nazi Germany there. And I was like, yeah, but no.
Not quite, but yes.
Yeah. But that she would associate that with that, I thought was interesting. But yeah, like, it's just heartbreaking.
I don't like to see any book destroyed.
No.
There are some books that, yes, they've just been read to death. And you go, do you want... It's time for them to say their farewells now. But when it's, like, the only manuscript from, like, the 1400s...
Yeah.
And you're destroying it. Like, that's when, in war zones, people go after the monuments and the art. Where I'm like, oh...
You can't replace that.
Bomb all the McDonald's you want, but leave the museums alone.
Right? I know.
Like, it just...
But even if it's not, like, some one-of-a-kind manuscript, books are, like, books have a personal meaning, right? Like, you know, your favorite book that you've ever read, and you've read it, like, so many times, and it's, like, beaten up and whatever. Like, maybe this book should go in the trash, but this is a special book to me, and if somebody would take that and destroy it, that would be heartbreaking, even though I could go out and buy another copy.
It's still not my book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And I started, like... some people might think this is sacrilege, but I was reading a book recently, and there kept being all these, like, quotes that I just loved in this book. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to mark this book up. And I've seen some people, like, they annotate, they put in, like, Post-its, they do all of these, like, whatever, their books. And I don't usually do that sometimes, but I was like... So I went out, I was on vacation, so I went out and had to buy some highlighters so that I could, like, highlight in this book. And I highlighted, like, a ton in this. And it was a novel, but I was like, some people are going to think that this is sacrilege. And some people might look at this after I die and they'd be like, why would she highlight that? That sounds... But it was just something, like, you know, something about those words that hit you in that moment and that you want to maybe go back to and remember. And, like... Sure, I could go buy five more copies of this particular book. It's a very popular book. But that's still something that's personal to me, right?
That's the thing. If this is a library book, yes, that is sacrilege. You'll be paying for it.
I would never, ever, ever do that to a library book.
Don't do it to a library book.
No.
To your
this
own
was
books.
my book.
I kind of assumed. To your own books. I do think that is part of the charm of having your own collection.
Yeah.
To personalize them, to go, oh, cool, knock, knock, who's there? To be able to kind of put your own stamp on them.
Yeah.
And that's part of the charm of it.
And I'm not much for, like, writing my thoughts or, like, that kind of stuff in there, but sometimes there's, like, a quote and you want to remember, and I don't necessarily want to pull out, like, a journal and write it down in my journal every time. And
I'm not a journaler.
So, like, I don't know, but it was just, like, these, something about books, right? Like, I wanted...
Sometimes there's just certain things that you want to remember, or, do you want to come back to that later?
Yeah.
Or just,
And I wanted so badly to like this book because the respect that the characters have for the books, right? Like the main characters, and like that's important to them, and they get it. Like only a book lover can get, right? Like people who don't like books don't understand what it is about books that people like, right? Like they just don't.
There's not really a substitute for it.
No.
I found.
And like that these characters, they get it, and that books are important. At the beginning of every chapter there's a quote from like a famous book, and I wanted so badly to like it because I can identify with that, and there was so much potential, but it
needs an editor.
It just needs something. I don't know.
Like, I wanted to like it. I really wanted to like it because I like the movie.
Yeah.
And I like to like the books of the movies.
And generally, the book is better.
The book is better.
9 times out of 10, the book is better.
Even if you watch the movie first and then go read the book, it's like, oh yeah, no, this builds upon it. You get more of the internal dialogue. You get more of the history behind it sometimes that you're kind of left out in the dark for the movie.
Yeah.
I really, really wanted to like it, and I don't really like the book.
Not as much as I wanted to like it.
I feel like the movie just improves on everything. Like, even Dustfinger.
Yeah.
In the book, a lot of the stuff that he's doing is, like, he led Capricorn's men there to burn and kidnap. Not really a great dude.
No.
Did he do the same thing in the movie? Yes. Did he do it as like his desperate final attempt to get home to his own family? Yes. Does that excuse what he does? No, but you can understand the reason. You can empathize with him. He becomes more as a character.
Yes.
Rather than just that guy.
Like in the movie, it was more like I'm so desperate to get back to my home.
Yeah.
That I'm going to do whatever it takes. In the book, it was like, I'm just a shady guy who does who does shady things.
Just a bit of a dodgy fellow.
Yeah. Like, I like to stab everybody in the back. Well, I'm going to do this to you, but then I'm going to go sell you out over here, and then I'm going to help you, but now I'm going to sell you out to these guys. And
whereas in the movie, he did sell them out, but he was overall more trustworthy because you could understand where he's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, but that did not come across in the book at all.
No.
In the book, he just seemed like a dodgy guy.
Completely.
Yeah.
But even Farid. Better in the movie.
Oh, so much better.
Like, that's the thing I don't understand. In the book, they read from it's a pirate book.
Oh,
Long John Silver.
Treasure Island?
Treasure Island, yes. In the book, they read from Treasure Island to get the treasure, and then they read from Arabian Nights to get more treasure. And that's where Farid came through. I like the fact that in the movie, they're just like, no, we've got kind of a one-stop shop where we can get treasure, and then Farid shows up. I like that.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of unnecessary to do both.
Yeah.
Kind of pointless. So, between that and I like the fact that there was just that little clip of the guy that he got swapped for, all of a sudden surrounded by the, 1,000 thieves or 100 thieves or whatever it was, just kind of going,
Yes.
Oops.
I also liked that in the movie they figured out how to read people back into books. Because that didn't happen in the book either.
No.
And I liked that.
But that's where her being a writer, I think, fits the story better than Fenolio being the one to write and the one to kind of... It makes her more of the main character as opposed to a random author dude that, frankly, doesn't seem great other than his magnificently perforated chocolate cake.
Although Jim Broadbent is amazing. I love him.
But again, great casting.
Yeah.
All around, great casting.
Yeah.
So, But, like, Fareed, in the book, he's very much a puppy dog.
He's cute.
Yeah, but there's very much felt like his entire purpose was to learn how to start fires so that when they needed a fire, they could strategically just throw him in.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, he was more of a character, and
Yeah.
I like the fact that at the end of the movie, he kept Gwen.
Yeah.
Because that was part of the reason why Dustfinger died, is because he tried to save Gwen.
Yeah.
But now Fareed kept Gwen,
Yeah.
and presumably he lives happily ever after. That's the story I'm going with.
Yeah, but in the book, Dustfinger doesn't get to go home.
I know, which also...
Yeah, it's sad.
Sucks.
But maybe in the next book he does.
Well, that was also the thing, too, when I was reading the book, where I'm like, okay, how much of the book is going to be in the movie, or how much of the movie is going to be in the book? Because when it's a series, and this is the only one that they've done, is it going to be just book one that the movie is? Because oftentimes there's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Or is it going to kind of encompass all of the series, but mainly be book one, but kind of still tie it off?
Yeah.
Like,
But this book wouldn't necessarily need a sequel.
I'd argue no. I'd say just write the movie and you're good.
Like, it's tied up very nicely in the end that
I'm happy with it.
it doesn't need, like, I don't feel like I need to read more because I don't need to find out anything.
No, I'm happy with where the story ends.
So I'm curious, like, I want to go read the back of the second book just to see what it's about. I don't know, like...
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think
I'm not going to read it, but...
I think there could be a lot of ways to go with the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think you can go, like, into Dustfinger's world. Mm-hmm. And, people are being pulled from this. And what effect has the loss of Capricorn and his men had on the world, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I think you could definitely go that route.
Yeah.
Like, it would be an interesting way to go. I haven't read the rest of the series. I don't know.
Yeah.
We read this because I like the movie.
And I wanted to read the book, so when Jess suggested it, I was like, absolutely, because I wanted to read this book.
And now you joined my side, where the movie's better.
The movie is better. And this
Gwen
is
is just adorable.
a long book. Like, it's over
It is.
500 pages.
Like, honestly, the
So-
entire thing is like edit.
Yep. I know. And when I was trying to finish it, I had, like, major ADD. Like, I would read a chapter, and then I would be like, I gotta check my email. And then I would read another chapter, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go, like, do something else. And then I would read a little more, and then, like, I just couldn't. Like, often, if a book is good, I can sit and I can read.
Oh, yeah.
For a good chunk of time,
you could blow
right?
up my house around me, and I wouldn't notice.
But this book, absolutely not. I had to, like, and that's why it took me so long to get through it, because I kept stopping every, like, 10 pages to do something. And also because if I don't, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm running out of time to
I
finish
may
this
have
book.
napped during this book.
Well, I absolutely did. But then children.
I don't have children, so I can nap in peace.
I didn't,
I just have a goldfish that refuses to die.
I was dozing off. And then all of a sudden I hear, "We're home, honey!" Which is how my 7-year-old walks in the door, like, every single time. Even if she knows there's nobody home, she'll walk in the door and yell that out.
She is a precocious little scamp.
She's something. But yes. So then I woke up and then I was like, oh yeah, I gotta read this. I don't know if
I mean, it comes down to watch the movie because it'll be better than the book.
Yeah. Unless you're really, like, committed to a nice, slow, long story that takes its time.
Where the characters aren't developed as well as the movie.
Yeah.
And the characters aren't as good as the movie. And you have to imagine what Gwen looks like rather than just watching her in the movie. Him, her, it.
Yeah. We still don't know why this lizard is on the cover, do we?
No, we don't.
Is it because the lizard came out of the book? Like, are these all the things coming out of the book? Like the treasure
Must
and
be.
the Tinkerbell and this is
I will
Fareed?
say, I do not mind that there was no Tinkerbell in the movie. I am totally fine with that.
Oh, she was annoying in the book.
Very.
Yep. I feel like these must be the things coming out of the book. The books.
Now I
Maybe
just
that's what
have,
it
these
is.
are my favorite things stuck in my head.
I have watched Sound of Music, like, too many times.
I never have.
What?
Yes.
Oh, if only it was a book so we could do a page to screen.
Isn't it?
Is it?
Oh, I'm thinking Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is a book.
Mary Poppins is definitely a book.
Yeah.
P.L. Travers.
Yes.
Huh. That's wild. Well, I think you would hate it, but I feel like you should watch it as a rite of passage.
It's one of those that's on my watch it eventually list. Anyway, got any fun facts for us?
I certainly do. So, as we mentioned, one of the characters, Farid, comes out of the book Arabian Nights or 1001 Nights. And so I chose to focus on that book for the fun facts. So, 1001 Nights is a collection of Middle Eastern folktales compiled in the Arabic language during the Islamic Golden Age. It is often known in English as the Arabian Nights from the first English language edition, circa 1706 to 1721, which rendered the title as the Arabian Nights Entertainment. So there are some names coming up that if I butcher, I apologize. I will do my best. The work was collected over many centuries by various authors, translators, and scholars across West Asia, Central Asia, South Asia, and North Africa. Some tales trace their roots back to ancient and medieval Arabic, Sanskrit, Persian, and Mesopotamian literature. Most tales, however, were originally folk stories from the Abbasid and Mamluk eras, while others, especially the frame story, are probably drawn from the Pahlavi Persian work A Thousand Tales, which in turn may be translations of older Indian texts. The main frame story concerns Shahryar, whom the narrator calls a Sasanian, I think, king, ruling in India and China. Shahryar is shocked to learn that his brother's wife is unfaithful. Discovering that his own wife's infidelity has been even more flagrant, he has her killed. In his bitterness and grief, he decides that all women are the same.
Couldn't possibly have been the man still.
No. Shahryar begins to marry a succession of virgins, only to execute each one the next morning before she has a chance to dishonor him. Eventually, the vizier, whose duty it is to provide them, cannot find any more virgins. Scheherazade, mm-hmm. The vizier's daughter, offers herself as the next bride, and her father reluctantly agrees. On the night of their marriage, Scheherazade begins to tell the king a tale but does not end it. The king, curious about how the story ends, is thus forced to postpone her execution in order to hear the conclusion. The next night, as soon as she finishes the tale, she begins another one, and the king, eager to hear the conclusion of that tale as well, postpones her execution once again. This goes on for 1001 nights, hence the name. Common to all the editions of the Nights is the framing device of the story of the ruler Shahryar being narrated the tales by his wife Scheherazade, with one tale told over each night of storytelling. The stories proceed from this original tale. Some are framed within other tales, while some are self-contained. Some editions contain only a few hundred nights of storytelling, while others include 1001 or more. The bulk of the text is in prose, although verse is occasionally used for songs and riddles and to express heightened emotion. Most of the poems are single couplets or quatrains, although some are longer. Some of the stories commonly associated with the Arabian Nights, particularly Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp and Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, were not part of the collection in the original Arabic versions, but were instead added to the collection by French translator Antoine Galland after he heard them from Syrian writer Hannah Diab during the latter's visit to Paris. Other stories, such as the 7 Voyages of Sinbad the Sailor, had an independent existence before being added to the collection.
It's interesting.
So, the book within the book. One of the books within the book.
There's many books within the book.
Yep, but this is one that they read from, and Farid came out of this book, so I don't know. I just chose that one.
It is interesting with some of the older tales that we're all very familiar with where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I find interesting is original fairy tales.
Yeah.
And, well, they wouldn't be suitable for Disney movies.
No. I liked this, like the framing story of like he marries the virgins and then he kills them, and then she tells.
You're a big fan of that, aren't you?
No. But then she obviously knows, right? Mm-hmm. So she tells him a story but doesn't finish it.
Yeah.
And she's like the cleverness of that.
Never underestimate the power of a cliffhanger.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. So yeah. So there you go.
Fun facts.
Inkheart. Watch the movie.
You can skip the book.
Leave the book alone.
It's fine.
Unless you like a good slow burn.
Well, the movie adds more background than the book does, and that is rare.
I know.
So.
I was just thinking, though, another good character for the dad, for Mo, would have been Jude Law.
No.
No? I think he could have played that part well.
He's creepy.
I disagree.
We can agree to disagree, but I'm right.
No,
you could have gone a lot of different.
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch would have actually been pretty good.
Oh.
It's got that kind of nerdy book fixer look about him.
Yeah, he might have been good.
Yeah. Anyway, before we start recasting the movie.
Yes.
So.
That's the only character I might recast, I think.
Yeah, everybody else is pretty much spot on. If you've got any suggestions for who should be cast instead, let us know.
Yeah.
We're not going to remake the movie or anything, but we're just curious.
Absolutely not. I just see him as somebody more gangly and nerdy looking than Brendan Fraser.
Yeah. He also wasn't like an action hero in the book or anything.
No.
Like, at no point is it like, I'm swinging from the back of a train to rescue a damsel in distress. Like, it's not any of that, so could go a lot of different ways with the character.
Yeah.
Considering the fact it is quite a, I don't want to say it's a niche movie, because it's not. There's a lot of big-name actors in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and I
pretty much everyone.
You know, too, this movie is actually not that, like, it's 2008, I believe it was made.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fairly old, actually.
It is, yeah.
So, like, it's older than my oldest child.
What that has to do with anything, I don't know.
Well, I feel like my oldest child is getting old, so. But no, like, it's not. I don't know that it was well publicized at the time.
No, it definitely wasn't one where, you know, like, there's some, like, Ice Age where you've seen the trailer 15,000 times. Mm-hmm. I've never watched it, but I've seen the trailer 15,000 times. I don't remember anything about this.
I feel
being
like
around.
2008 was kind of Twilight era.
Yeah.
So maybe it got overshadowed.
Entirely likely. Yeah, that was Twilight era.
Yeah.
Ooh, the horror. But considering the number of big-name actors that were in there, you'd expect it to be a little bit more...
Yeah. And
publicized.
When we got it in, I was like, oh, cool, a new movie. And I was like, oh, wait, this isn't new.
But it still stands up.
It does.
Like, it's not one that's like, oh, this is so 2008.
Yeah, you know, you wouldn't think that watching it.
It's relatively timeless in that regard. Like, it's not...
All the stuff is pretty generic.
It's pretty generic. The vehicles are funky and don't match with the timeline that time the movie was in, or, like, made in anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's kind of relatively timeless, so...
Yep.
And it's not one of those where, oh, goodness, your CGI is on the par with Jaws' cardboard shark.
Daughter number 1 could discuss some CGI with you. That's her new thing. So, anyway, check it out.
Yeah, watch it. It's fun. And it's Andy Serkis, so you really can't go wrong.
Oh, amazing. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So, that's what we thought of the book, but those are just our opinions, and we'd like to hear yours. Leave us a comment.
Thanks for joining us for Books and Banter, and thanks to our editor, Linda. We'll see you next time.